Hi, I'm host Eric. Welcome to Talking with Famous People. I'm here chatting with uh, chatty chattertons, namely StixZ66 and 65 previous people had picked the name StixZ, so that's why I went with 66. Um, in fact, my goal is to have all 66 StixZs in one go to meeting. It'd be quite an accomplishment. Regardless of that, when he showed up, what I was doing is um, I was putting together this list of famous ENFPs. I mean, I just copy and paste from the internet, but then I got to put them into the categories I want them in, so I can look at it and make judgments about it. I want to say I cut and paste the name. Okay, you're a writer. You go in the writer category, like that. I was doing that fucking labor intensive bullshit, and I mentioned that one ENFP that I don't like at all is Sharon Stone. She seems to have a quality of righteous certainty concurrent with appalling wrongness to which she's blind. That's the thing. When I don't like an ENFP, that's the quality in a nutshell. Appalling wrongness commingled with a certainty that she knows best for everybody else. She thinks she's super smart, Sharon Stone. But and I'm not saying it's not possible that Sharon Stone would be super smart, except the way she talks about viewing herself as super smart is fairly strong evidence that she's pretty dumb. Because she talks about it in a very undercognated fashion. So, Sharon Stone, I may have only seen a few minutes of clip of one interview of you, but I have made permanent judgments about you and your life. And from now on, I want you to think of yourself that way. I'm sure Sharon Stone's a complicated individual, but that one thing I saw of hers, she seemed like such a underchecked individual. You got to get checked by people, or else you go insane. If you don't have the mechanism in place for people to check you, and you're just walking around thinking you're fucking God's gift to Earth, then you're gonna have some serious fucking problems. In my opinion, I mean, you're gonna have a problem with me because I don't have sympathy for that kind of wrongness at all. I just have pow pow for it. I might be guilty of it myself. Maybe that's why I'm so pow pow about it. I don't. I'd like to think I'm not, but I understand that everyone's more blind about themselves than they are about others. Did you say your mom's face was a Buddhist, Stack 66? What about the rest of your mom? Is she a Buddhist or just her face? Just her face, huh? Crazy. I would have thought that the whole body goes Buddhist. You see, I can't. Sometimes the chat pops up, sometimes it's not. I am too recording this. You don't learn from your mistakes. Well, you don't learn from your mistakes. I totally learn from them. Oh, you mean that in general? Well, I mean, look, the thing is, whatever narrative she's attached herself to, you say here, she may have found some self-righteous analogy to describe herself as having found in self-contentedness. I didn't get that read as to what she was saying in the thing I'm referring to. She was basically talking about being in Mensa and her IQ test scores and stuff, and I'm just like, dear Lord, woman, why would you want to make this a topic of this conversation? Why would you even allow it to go there? You just say, Why would you ever want to join Mensa? To me, it's a sign of a low ceiling intelligent person. It seems like you have chosen to embrace the ego promises of intelligence that deliver only bleh. Or I mean, she may, because she has sufficient wealth and sort of fame and stuff, she may be getting on the surface level what she wants out of her life, by being the ultimate center of attention kind of thing. Which is, in a way, I envy her a life of it because I know she must have assistants. I want real assistants. I have like what are more like coworkers who follow instructions about work stuff. But I really need somebody whose job it is to just be my assistant. And I like the notion of that a lot. But I wouldn't want to surround myself with people that I'm only interacting with in that capacity, right? You get the feeling sometimes with these celebrities that's what they're doing. The ones who seem crazy, anyway. Some of them seem to be handling it just fine, and some of them don't. But I don't know. Who knows? Like Madonna, for example. I fucking despise Madonna. She makes me sad in an angry way. Yeah, INFPs, um, it's hard to get them to. They seem what I would say that they seem overly guarded to me. But but that's much more common a thing. I feel that about almost all types that aren't EPs. Well, yeah, from an ENTP's perspective, I think anything that's not completely wide open, here I am, and here is every fact anyone could possibly know about me. Anything less than that is somehow, um, you know, like you're being too guarded. It's a very tempting line of reasoning for me to think is kind of cognitive function neutral because most um, most people would agree that uh, that fear restricts us more than it ought to, or that in an ideal world we'd be less controlled by our fears. And I think a lot of that stuff is fear driven in the sense that people are afraid to make mistakes. People are afraid to be condemned for trying something and it comes out dumb, and then it's something we learn in childhood, right? I better be careful. I think this might be cool, but if the kids deem it not cool, then it's much wiser and better to just do nothing because there's risk in not cool, but there's no risk really in doing nothing. So since that's kind of like a seriously a seriously big factor in sort of the dominant understanding of managing risk and opportunity, that we're a very risk avoidant species by and large. The risk takers tend to be the EPs, and the rest of the types will always err more cautiously. I think it's unfortunate. I think it's unnecessary to. Put it this way. I think we're putting it in the wrong place. We shouldn't be using that with social stuff like that. But kids don't know any better, and they're not. Nobody. Adults don't understand what they know. Well, what I understand about INFPs, and it's the type I understand least, to be honest. I know I've met one, and what I took away from it is they get their feelings hurt easily, which, of course, annoys me. That doesn't mesh well with the ENTP. However, they are our supervisor type probably for exactly that reason. I know that ENFPs affect my behavior with their non-arguments. Right. But one thing I've recently come to understand, well, I would too, but I'm biased in favor of that. Are you a feeler? Here's what I've noticed about NFP is they have the ability to impact my behavior with silence, with what they don't say, with by not talking so much, but not in the same way that other introverts do. They've got a sort of a way of looking at you that dismantles your distance and scheminess, if you have any. I mean, ENTP scheminess is mislabeled that. It's really like just happened that way, and then after the fact we go, well, you must have done this for this reason because you got those outcomes, and it looks obviously like you planned this out, and you go, well, I did sort of on the fly kind of planned it. You find a lot of energy to exert mental cognitive stuff. Like, you mean abstraction like this, talking about ideas, parsing, as I call it, shredding arguments and meshing debates. Yeah, well, parsing in general, which is to say, drawing distinctions between things. Ideas are easy to summon, but do you... Yeah, probably drawing distinction. That's the trouble. Well, what I find with ENFPs is... Right. And I mean, this is one of the things I was thinking about today in the car about ENTPs and ENFPs. ENFPs, when you ask them to explain their ideas or their thoughts about something, they get caught in the brambles. They'll start down one line of reasoning, and then they'll go, of course, on the other hand, and then they'll kind of go down another line of reasoning, and then they'll look to their feelings to figure out which one they actually feel, and they don't really know because it's not a feeling thing. And so when they do express ideas, they get themselves in a wash of indecision about which idea they're going with or not, and why. And when they face contradictions or inconsistencies, they double check with their feelings and they go, no, feelings consistent. And then they go, well, I don't get this. Because they're good with language. NFPs are really good with language. And so to understand all the cadence and voice stuff, to be an excellent writer, means being deft with processing through the ideas. But being an NFP means being deft at processing through the ideas, being crippled in terms of reconciling them with each other. So it makes for a type that, to me, I look at NFPs and go, oh, that must be so hard. I can watch them. I can feel what's going on in their heads, you know? Well, I don't think most ENF, or I don't know about INFPs. I don't think most ENFPs actually have any positions so much as they have a compelling sense that, look, we should all get the obvious truth about caring about people, or whatever sort of human driven impacts and human driven effects on people and stuff like that that they know are wrong, or they feel are wrong, they feel are bad. And so then they go, I'm sure if we could all just put aside our desire to fight and debate and scrap and everything and just go, look, we all agree this needs to be fixed. How are we going to fix it? We'll figure it out. Like that's the core of the NFP life message. Of course, it's completely insane because, and as a matter of fact, we don't all agree on those values. As a matter of fact, we don't all agree that just because something bad happens, something ought to be done about it. Most importantly, that's probably the most important one. And number 3, we don't all agree about what ought to be done about it, even if we all agreed something ought to be done about it. And number 4, whether or not it's effective depends entirely on what and how and all the details. So, just because that thing, you're sure in your heart of hearts that there's something wrong with that. That's wrong, it's bad, this reality needs to be changed. It's meaningless unless there's some sort of attachment to a specific argument or set of arguments, especially if they're coordinated with some sort of prescriptive indicator, like I will take these sort of actions to concretely improve this well-defined situation in describable and effective ways, rather than just stomping my feet and shaking my fist. So I have a weird perception of NFPs that is probably wrong. But I mean, ENFPs are perhaps the worst type of lobbying groups and social justice. Yeah, they're the worst kind. They're the worst because they don't require any consistency of themselves. That's the basic gist of the problem. They don't hold themselves to any standard of consistency because at the end of the day, they know who's on their team and who the bad guys are, and they think somehow that that's enough. That's all you need to know, or I don't know. But what I will say about NFPs is because they don't have that right. Well, they don't have FE, and that's what makes them. That's where their power comes from. It's not so much from the FI, but from the lack of FE in the conscious stack. So I always feel somewhat at the mercy of an NFP in a conversation. Like they can see right through me. And they know that I'm trying to manage them, and they concurrently know that they're unmanageable on that vector, and that me trying to manage them with my FE is like, a little kid throwing his best punches and kicks against heavily armored tank battalion. I think the ENFP, probably the INFP as well, feel as though there's something slightly pitiful about me using FE stuff, likability projections, engagement techniques that are designed to make people like me, and they don't think that those things work on them at all, even as they are concurrently liking me, and they'd like to help me be more real or something like that. I definitely get the feeling that, hey, Abraham, that they think I'm slightly tragic, and I think they're slightly tragic. But I suspect, like I said, INFP, I'm really talking about ENFP. I really don't know anything about INFPs. And the one interview I've done with an INFP, she gave up very little information. They're quiet. Hey, look at this. What is this?
Just shake.
Just shake, huh?
Just a little shake.
Do I have to shake it before I drink it?
No.
Hi, Carlos.
How you been?
Long time no see. Been good. How are you?
Pretty good.
All right, well, I'm talking here, guys, gentlemen, Abraham and Carlos, with a person named Stick Z66. Sticks 66.
Hello.
What's up?
And I'm going to end this video and we'll start another one. Thanks for watching Talk with Fan People.